tired of thinking about drinking, trying to control it, and ending up in the same loop? Welcome to the Feel Good Alcohol Free podcast, where high achieving women learn how to step out of the stop start cycle and build a life that feels calm, clear, and alcohol free on purpose. I'm your host, Lindsay Hennekey, accredited sober coach and former high functioning drinker. After more than a decade of drinking every night while keeping up a big career and a life that looked fine from the outside, I rebuilt my identity from the inside out. Now I help women stop negotiating with themselves and trust their own decisions again. This isn't a podcast full of cliches or willpower pep talks. You're getting real conversations, lived experience coaching, and practical tools you can use inside your actual life, not perfect conditions. So take a breath. You're here because you're ready to feel good in your real life. So let's get started. I'm so excited to bring you today's guest, Jakee Zaccor. JZ is a designer and a creative strategist behind Jakee Zaccor Designs, a creative studio helping purpose-driven humans and businesses build bold brands, launch websites, and manage their marketing and creative in an ever-shifting world. Now, I know you're like, Lindsay, what does this have to do with feeling good alcohol-free? Jakee is actually a personal friend of mine, and she is 10 years sober and endlessly curious about what joy can look like without alcohol. She founded Shake Social Club in 2021. It's a booze-free community movement in Burlington, Vermont, and it's redefining how people gather, celebrate, and belong. When she's not deep in a brand project, you'll find her on her yoga mat, exploring outside, snowboarding and longboarding, or learning to DJ. She lives in Burlington, Vermont with her two tabby cat, Nugget and Lil Swerve. Okay, I cannot wait for you guys to hear this conversation. Let's dive in. Hello, Jakee. I've given my audience a little bit of an intro, but thank you so much for coming here. And I'd love to have you share a little bit about who you are outside of the business and the movement of Shake.
Lindsay, thank you so much for having me. Such an honor to be here chatting with another awesome sober woman about one of our favorite topics ever. So I'm so happy to be here. Yes, my name is Jakee Zaccor. Aside from Shake, I'm a creative director and strategist, and that job has been shifting a lot over, the past 15 years that I've been doing it. But I started out in corporate. I was working at LinkedIn and iHeartRadio and learned a lot of things about, how companies and businesses need to run on the kind of marketing and creative side, and then decided to break out on my own about 10 years ago and start designing personal brands, websites, kind of helping businesses with all levels of creative strategy and just execution to make sure they can get their message and their brand out there in the world. So that's a little bit about what I do kind of on the daily. But otherwise, I'm living in Vermont. I love to snowboard and get outside. And I've got two tabby cats named Nugget and Lil Swerve.
The sweetest. And yes, there's a little difference with you and some of my other guests because we actually know each other in real life, which is fun. And it brings in a different level, I think, to the conversation. So I'm super excited. So how would you describe let's bring it into Shake. Tell us about what Shake is and how would you describe the work that you do in this world that you're trying to create with Shake?
Great. Thank you. Yeah. So Shake is my passion project and I call it a wellness inspired nightlife. It's kind of transitioning into a social club, but the whole idea came from when I first got sober 11 years ago now, which is kind of insane, but a beautiful length of time to be in this world, in this experience. There were very few, I was living in New York City, so there were very few places where you could go out and there was no alcohol. There were a couple parties that really informed my early sobriety, called Daybreaker. And there was something called the Get Down back then, which was kind of a happy hour dance party where there was a bar, but there was no drinks on the dance floor. So at least it felt kind of at that intermediary place. But then I moved to Burlington about 7 years ago now, which is insane. And there was nothing like that. We're a smaller town, right? We've got a lot less going on than New York City, a lot less venues, a lot less people, but we have a pretty large recovery community. And I don't even care if you're in that community. We have a lot of people who were sober curious and sober and just interested in more wellness than they were alcohol or whatever. And I was like, there's a space here. There's a space that we can fill with like something great. And I still was in my like early 30s and was like, I want to have fun. I want to do something great on a Friday night, but I really don't want to go to a dive bar or like the club where there's just like people drinking. I just, again, even 10 years in, 8 years in, I was like, it's just not interesting to me anymore. And I want to be around like-minded people who are also not into that. So decided to start Shake. And at first, I really leaned into kind of the yoga community because I'm also a yoga teacher. And so I was like, okay, what does it feel like if it's like ecstatic dance adjacent? And that felt okay, but it wasn't exactly what I wanted. And so now I really want to create these intentional pop-up spaces that are like third spaces where people can come. There's no booze, there's no substances, but there is music and dancing and some sort of like wellness things. We've been doing a lot of sauna and also yoga and getting some kind of like mindfulness into that, but mostly I just wanted a place where people could gather on a Friday night and have fun, like actual fun. So that's what Shake is.
Is that so? I've read somewhere, maybe on your website, that you say that Shake is about proving that presence feels better than escape.
Yes,
So
you're calling that out.
what does that mean?
Yeah, so that's a line that I kind of came up with when I was batting like a lot of ideas back and forth with a few collaborators. And when I was drinking, I realized that I was basically just escaping from my life, from whatever. So it was either from social anxiety or any kind of anxiety or fear of being judged, etc. And what I am hoping Shake can be for people is this place where they can actually be present. And when you're present, you're not scared of the future. You're not depressed about the past. You're just in the moment and you're actually living your life. And so my hope is, and the goal of Shake is that presence actually can feel better than all the times you were just trying to like run away from whatever it was that you were escaping, either yourself or the situation you're in. So yeah, that's kind of the hope and the idea is to get you in the moment.
This is like probably one of the most important concepts when it comes to quitting drinking, because I think there's so many layers of alcohol and where it touches our lives. And I think many people believe that like, oh, well, my life is fine. I don't even know why I drink. Like they don't actually think that they're trying to escape anything. And then till when the alcohol is removed, that's when they kind of realize like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe I do have some stuff going on. And when you say presence feels better than escape, so many of the women who I work with, they have like this busy time frame from, like 5 to 8 or 9 p.m. where it's like dinner, homework, family, making lunches for the next day, like all of that chaoticness. And so many of my clients will say, me and my family actually have a conversation at dinner where before they would be on their second or third glass of wine by dinner and they're just thinking like, how am I going to get through bedtime? Or like I have 500 emails that I still need to get to and my kids still need to like take a bath and be put to bed and I'm exhausted.
100%.
It's like it's a whole different world when you sit at dinner with your family and like engage with them
and want to share.
Yeah. And it's the same thing. Like, obviously, I don't have kids and you don't have kids, but it's the same thing when you're with your friends. Like, there's nothing meaningful after 2 or 3 glasses of wine happening.
They say that, in vino veritas, and I'm just like, that's just like not true, right? Like, your inhibitions might drop and you might say something that you wouldn't have said otherwise, but like the like actual real connection that you're going to have with people and truly being able to like listen and see someone else, it's just not going to happen. But it can happen when you stop drinking. And like I have to say, like, I was an okay friend when I was drinking, but I'm a much better friend now, like
100%. I would say I was a subpar friend. Like,
for sure.
I referred to myself as like the one more round girl. Like if you were out with me, you were going to be annoyed because you were not going to be home when you said you were going to be home.
Same. I'd always be shutting it down. It was not a good look.
Exactly. Now, I have like so much envy for you because you got sober at 28. Now, a lot of women who are my audience are
Yeah.
like, what? She's 28? Like, everyone wishes that they did this sooner. So, take us back to that season of your life. What was happening and what helped you realize that alcohol was no longer working for you? Because I got to tell you, when I was 28 years old, like, I was not thinking about quitting drinking.
Totally. Well, thank you. Yeah, no, it feels crazy. I'm turning 38 this summer. And so it's like, it feels like, holy moly, how did that happen? Yeah, so 28, let's go back. I'm living in New York City and I'm working at LinkedIn, which was especially at that time, like a very high powered, chaotic tech job, like they really wanted you, they fed you breakfast, lunch, and basically dinner because they want you to be there all the time. So I was basically working these like 16-hour days with a commute. And one of the perks of working at LinkedIn was they'd have the happy hour beer cart 3 days a week, and they came around at 3 p.m. And so if you have a drinking problem, that's a party right there. You're like, yes, amazing. Like, you'd have a beer at your desk, but then like, are you really doing any work? No. The other thing about that office was it was a sales office. So a little bit about sales is it's all about like, schmoozing the clients, taking them out for drinks, taking them out. So everything about the energy of that office was like, when are we going for drinks? Like, this is on me. This is on the card. Like, don't worry. No one's paying for this, right? We also, Lindsay, had a speakeasy bar in the office.
Stop.
It was this really crazy room and it was cool, right? It was this cool room where there were like, I'm not exaggerating, 100 old school rotary phones stuck to a wall. And you had to know which phone to pick up that would open the door to this secret bar on the I think it was the 28th floor of the Empire State Building. And it was like a selling point when they were trying to get people to work there, right? They were like, look at this cool thing we have. But then they would have happy hours there like every week, and they would just like feed us with booze. And so that was a huge part of my like just work life, right? Which was drinking, partying. We'd be drinking at lunch and then we'd come back and I'd be like, how am I supposed to have a meeting now? I'm like 3 drinks in at like 2 p.m. It was just,
yes,
it was
I
very
do
much
know.
part of the culture, especially back then. I'm sure it's a little different now, but maybe not. And so that was just like a huge part of it. And then after work, you've had a couple drinks at work now you're like, well, I guess we're going to the bar for happy hour, right? And so too many times I would basically like go for a drink at 5:30 and I wouldn't get home till 2 a.m. And then I have to like turn around and get to work by like 8 or 9. And I was a wreck. I was just a total wreck. I think I gained like 25 pounds, right? I was just like, because I'm eating pizza at 2 a.m. because I'm starving, because I haven't nourished myself all day. I never saw my cat. I was just like never home. It was awful. And like, I guess like the last night I drank was November of 2015, which is insane. And I basically had one of these nights where I was like, I think a boy had just broken up with me. I think that's what it was. I was like seeing this man. It was like a situationship from hell. It was terrible. And he was like, I don't want to see you anymore. And I was like, fine. And so I like left and I was in tears on 6th Avenue and I immediately just go into a bar and I'm just like, give me a shot. Like, I'm like, I don't want to deal with these feelings, or I don't want to escape from this feeling. And promptly went to another bar, met some other friends, another bar, went to another. And that was the story, right? It was like, well, I'm in it now. I've started drinking. I'm not going to stop until whatever happens.
Yeah.
And so that night, I basically had my last drink because I had an out of body experience at the last bar in the East Village somewhere around, 2 a.m. And I watched myself from above ordering drinks. And I was like, wait a second, if I'm up here, who's in my body ordering vodka tonics at the bar? Like I'm up here. So like, who's that? And it really freaked me out.
Yeah.
And when I woke up in my apartment on the floor with all the lights on, with my purse splayed across the kitchen, I was like, I think I've had enough. I think I have to call this now. I think that this is a sign. There were too many times like that. And this one just happened to be kind of like, not the worst, but like the worst, because I was like, oh, yeah, I can't believe this is, why am I doing this? My cat looked at me, a little swerve. She's gonna be 14 this year. She's been with me the whole time. And she was just like, girl, you okay? Like that was the energy, right? And I was like, I actually don't think that I am. So yeah, I'm 28 years old and I'm sad and I'm like, oh my God, do I have my phone? Do I have my debit card? And I look in my purse and there's just like a slice of pizza, like no bag, no plate, just in the bag. And I'm like, thank you for laughing because it's my comic relief in this moment. And I was like, no, girl, we got to do better. So I actually called my brother, who's 2 years younger than me, but he was in med school. And I was like, Nick, I think I might have a drinking problem. Like, what do you think I should do? And I was very, I was so desperate at that point to just like never feel that way again that I was like, I'm ready. I'm ready to talk to my little brother who, he's my best friend. And he was like, oh, okay. Okay, let's take this quiz. And he found me the like, do you have a drinking problem quiz? And we did it together. And it was like, what is it? 25 questions, like yes or no, like all the like, how many drinks do you have a week and whatever. And I was like, I flying colors. I passed 22 out of 25. It was like, yes, girl, you probably have a drinking problem.
Oh,
Yeah, and then it goes from there. Like then the sobriety journey goes on. But that was it. That was like what my life was like, and it was chaos, right? It was pure chaos. There was no peace. I was always anxious. I was always racing because I was late for work. I was always tired and hungover, and it was chaos. So yeah, 28. I mean, I like to say I did my time. And I got my PhD in drinking, and then I was like, I'm done now. I don't need to do anymore. I have no more research to do.
well, I think that you figured it out a lot quicker than I did, because I spent like a decade thinking about I need more. How many more times am I going to do this before I've decided now?
Oh, 100%. And I will say, like, probably like at least 3 to 4 years before that. So like at 24 already, I was writing in my journal, like, never drinking again. Like, take a week off, girl, but then, you'd write that on a Monday morning after a bender weekend. But by Thursday night,
Yes.
you're back at happy hour because
Yes.
it's Thirsty Thursday. And it's like the built-in forgetter of alcohol abuse is like so powerful. So powerful. So don't.
It is some crazy technology, that built-in forgetter of alcohol abuse.
It's crazy. And I mean, again, it took me some time too, but like by the time I hit 28, enough bad things had happened where I was like, I think we have to call this. I think it's okay.
Well, I mean, 28 is amazing. I was still saying Thirsty Thursday when I was 38. So I think
everyone's on their own timeline. I will say that. Like you can't rush it either. Like when you're ready, you're ready. But there are a lot of ways you can, like, if maybe speed up the process if you again have support and education and knowledge. Like I didn't know anybody who was sober. I didn't know anybody. So that changed my life, because I was like, well, now I need to meet all these people so I can be inspired by them and keep this going, because it was no one in my life. Everyone drank, because that's what you do when you're a drinker. You surround yourself with drinkers who want to drink with you.
Exactly. And then you look around and you're like, do I have any actual friends, or are these just people that I drink with? Like I go out with them all the time, but I don't actually know anything about them.
No. And they really don't know anything about me, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly.
So when you first stopped drinking, like what was the hardest part that people might not expect? What did you experience?
Well, maybe people will expect this a little bit, but kind of to the point we just made, I was kind of shocked at my friends' reactions, right? And some people were like, cool. Like, but again, this is 2015. So this is not the world of 2026 where like a lot of people don't drink. There's NA options. Like the only non-alcoholic beer when I got sober was O'Doul's. For me, in my brain was like for old sober dudes in like, with a brown bat, like it just like, for me, it was like, no, I was not interested in that. But some people were like, okay, cool. Like we think you might have a problem too. So like, we're cool with you stopping. Right. Like that was sort of one of the energies I got. And the other energy, which I think I wasn't expecting, was some of them got mad. Like some of them got spicy about it, because I think what I've realized, especially in early sobriety, but even later, even now, that I am just a mirror for the people around me. And so when I am saying, oh, I have a problem, then they're looking at me and they're going like, well, shit, if you have a problem, then I have a problem, and I'm not ready to deal with that. And so now they're mad. And probably my closest friend, right, who ended up unfortunately not staying a friend after I got sober because of this, she couldn't handle it. She couldn't handle the fact that I wasn't drinking anymore. It's as if she didn't know how to relate to me anymore, because we weren't getting drunk together, right? And it was a massive part of our relationship. And we had so much fun together, but also, was she actually a friend of mine? Because she didn't want to stick around when I got sober. And I remember I didn't go out even to like a restaurant for probably almost 90 days. Like I probably it was like 2 months for sure. And then at one point I was like, okay, I'm feeling like pretty good. I want to like celebrate the progress that I've made. Will a few close friends come out to dinner with me? My only request is don't order a drink. That's my only request. Like, please, we can go anywhere you want, but just don't order a drink. And everybody except this one girl did. And she did. She had a glass of wine. And I was like, I didn't say anything at the time, right? But I was like watching and I was like, this is all I asked of you. And like, this is a big deal. So that was surprising. And I think that maybe you think that the people in your life are going to just immediately be supportive because you're doing something so good for yourself. But it's not really about you. It's like if they have something going on, it's not personal, right? And like it took me a long time to like not forgive her, but like understand that that was not about me at all. And like she wasn't doing it to be malicious or unkind, but she also had a problem and she didn't know how to deal with it. So that was surprising. And the other thing, which is a positive, is how good I started to feel quite quickly.
Yeah.
My big thing that I did for myself was I replaced happy hour with a yoga class. And I can't recommend like some sort of movement practice in early sobriety more. Like it is arguably one of the most important parts of me continuing on the journey, right? Because I replaced the ritual, which they say is like so important because you have a ritual of doing this thing after work. Cool. Let's get you a new ritual and let's make it something positive, right? And so I immediately started to feel better. 1, because I wasn't drinking. 2, because I was sleeping better. 3, I was actually nourishing my body. And 4, because then I was doing this movement and mindfulness practice almost every day. Because anytime that I left a yoga class, I was like, I don't want to drink. I feel too good. Why would I want to drink right now? Like, I did Shavasana, like, I don't need it. So that I think too is that really quickly, like before the 90 days, I felt physically and like just overall wellness wise better. And that was a nice surprise.
Yeah, exactly. I know. It's like sometimes it's hard for me to get myself to the yoga class, but I've never left a yoga class being like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have done that. It's like, no.
Never. But I've left a happy hour feeling that way. So
exactly. I've left many a happy hour being like, well, that was really stupid. Now
I wish I hadn't had that last drink, right? Like, and then you're like beating yourself up. But yes, anytime I'm at the gym or any kind of fitness class of any kind, I'm not like, why did I do that? No, I'm always like, look, I did it, So just like building that muscle too of being proud of yourself again, instead of having so much like self hate and shame and guilt around doing something that like you arguably know logically is not good for you, but you can't help doing.
Right. And it takes practice. Like we have to keep getting out there and trying. And like every time you practice it, you just become proud of yourself. Like
I know. It makes that muscle stronger. It's like anything else, right? It's like, but it really does. It does take practice and a belief that like slow over time will build these beautiful results.
So true. It's so true. And when you were talking about your friend from before and her behavior, like that, it's just such a really important point because it's never about us when we tell somebody that we're changing our relationship with alcohol. It's always about them and their own stuff. And that's something that I want people to know so badly. And particularly like a lot of women will be like, oh, well, I'm afraid to tell my friends, or my friend was like, but you don't have a problem. And I'm like, that's because if you have a problem, that means they have a problem because they're looking at you and you've got your life together. They don't know that you're thinking about it all the time. They don't know that after you go out for happy hour with them, you go home and drink a bottle of wine. Like they don't see that side of you. And even if they did, it doesn't matter because if it's a problem for you, then it's a problem worth changing.
Absolutely. No, and I dealt with it with some family members too. And I just remember like having to take a little bit of distance from them, right? Because they were like, not supportive. They were like, I have a beer. And I'm like, no, man, like, no, uncle, I can't, like that's not where I'm at right now. But like, I'm not trying to hate on you and I'm not telling you to stop. That's the other thing is like people often, when you tell them you're stopping drinking, it's as if you're telling them to stop drinking. Right. And it's like, listen, this is not about you, man. It's like, I got to do this for me. And just, being firm in those boundaries because people will kind of try to make it like it's your problem, right? That you want they're around you now and you're not drinking anymore. And it's like, that's just not the case. And it is, again, it takes practice. So
It really does. And honestly, like I'm kind of thinking about you and your circumstance and the time in which you quit drinking and the age that you were. Like I would, if I was 28 and quitting drinking, my brothers would have been like making fun of me big time. Like, oh, you can't handle your booze anymore. Like I can't
Yeah,
even think of the stuff because it was also just a different time.
it
Like you
was.
said, like
Yeah.
there, the word sober curious wasn't even a thing yet. Or
Mocktail wasn't a thing yet.
yeah,
It didn't
mocktail.
exist. Like,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
No,
So,
it was weird, but it was important. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it.
yeah.
And I will say too, like I did go to AA for about a year and a half because it was the only option.
The
It was
only
the
option.
only thing. The therapist I talked to, whatever, the social work, they were like, well, this is your option. And I was like, this doesn't really gel with me, but like I'm pretty desperate, so I'll try it. And
Mhm.
again, like I found a like fairly good community. I was in a women's group for a while, which again, I'd say like that was the saving grace of it. And but I didn't stay there, like I once I was feeling much more strong in myself, I reached out to different things. And that's also when the movement started to kind of pick up a little bit more. And
Yeah.
there was so many more options, like incredible coaches like you and other groups that were like supportive. And my yoga studio arguably helped me as much as Alcoholics Anonymous did. And then beautiful literature, right? Like Quit Like a Woman by Holly Whitaker, like probably did more for me in like one book than a year of AA did, because I was like, wait a second, and again, sometimes I like to say in my yoga practice and also for sobriety, there are many ways in. You just have to find the one that works for you, whatever it is for you. Like I don't judge any way anyone's going to get sober. Whatever you need to do, just get there, because I promise you, once you do, whew, like the situation gets infinite. But it's like whatever's gonna work, and for me it was definitely a combination of like having that initial AA support, because I needed some structure, and
Yeah.
then yoga to basically expand my mind and like remind me like who I was a spiritual being living in a physical body, and I needed to like be reminded of that. And like, why would you do this to yourself? You're literally poisoning your spirit. Stop that. That's not good for you.
I
And then
know.
I had really great family support and a bunch of people around me that were like, you can do this. Like, don't stop. Look at how good you're doing, right? And reflecting that back to me. But I'd say
Yeah.
any way you can get in, do it.
It's yeah, I could not agree more. And, I think we've talked about this before in our chats. Like, I think a lot of women look at yoga as a path towards their sobriety, and myself included. I have all of my journals where so many pages start out with, Lindsay, you have to do something about your drinking. And I remember signing up for a 200-hour yoga teacher training thinking like, this is going to give me focus. This is going to give me something to care about. And I wouldn't say that it didn't. It did. It wasn't when I had my last drink either, but I remember it really shined a light on like how I needed to start creating an identity for myself, because I would sit in these weekends, once a month for 9 months or whatever, and I would be thinking about how much time am I going to have after this to be able to like drink a bottle of Malbec on the couch and still get to bed on time because I have to come back to the studio tomorrow morning for 6 hours or whatever it was. And like looking back, I'm like, what a psycho. Nobody else in that room out of 28 other aspiring yoga teachers was thinking about stopping at Winooski Beverage on their way home and like fastest path to the couch and wine. Like, what? And it's like yoga and wellness and health does not belong in the same sentence as drinking. Like, period, to
Yeah,
me.
they're counterproductive, right? Like it's like, oh my God. And the mental gymnastics you're doing there, right? Like, oh, that's so exhausting. That's the other part that I like loved when I got sober. I was like, wow, I don't have to think about this anymore.
I
Like,
know.
like when the liquor store is open, or how I'm gonna hide these bottles, or like all that stuff was so exhausting. It was such a load. And so I agree. It's like if you can free yourself from that, then you actually have the space to like absorb some of these beautiful teachings and like be there and like enjoy, like absorb all of that and actually like
Yeah.
participate more.
Participate. Like I
Yeah.
paid all of this money to be in this class,
Right.
and it's like, and then not to mention my husband would know that like that would be a weekend where we wouldn't spend any time together because I would be tired from being in training and I would just want to sit on the couch and drink. So he's like, "Oh, I basically don't see my wife this weekend." And it's like just alcohol just creates the thinking about it and then the actual drinking of it and the recovery of it the next day creates so much distance in every area of our life.
No, it just sucks all the time. All the time, all the energy, all the everything that you have. And like then do you feel better? Right? Because like if you
Right.
did something like that and then you were like, wow, I feel amazing. Like, look at me go. No, you have a
Wow.
hangover and your husband hasn't talked to you in a weekend, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Oh,
terrible. It's terrible.
it'd be like a win, right? Yeah. No.
Yeah. Well, okay. So this brings me into the next phase. So you say that you didn't just need to stop drinking, but you needed something to move toward. So what was that for you?
Yeah, so I do like one of the lines that that AA gave me, which is drinking isn't your problem, drinking is your solution. So
Mhm.
that means there's something else going on that you're going to discover after you stop drinking because you're covering up your actual problem with booze. And so that's
Yeah.
what I was doing. And so what I realized pretty early on is that I didn't really have much of an identity and that I didn't really like myself. And I think and I was very uncomfortable with myself, uncomfortable in my body. I always struggled with weight as a kid. And I was on Army brat. And so I was moving constantly. And so I always think that I was looking for my people and my home and someplace that like felt safe and mine and like, just truly me. And so I really, really out from under the water. I like to kind of imagine like when I got sober, I like came up for air, like above the ocean waves, and I was just underwater
Mhm.
for a long time. And it's really hard to hear anything underwater. It's really hard to see clearly. There's a lot of like, kind of like muddled noise. You're like, I think I know, but I don't know. So then when you come up, you're like, this is me and the sun and like there's the sky and I can like see so clearly and I'm like, whoa. So I was really trying to move towards myself, right? Like find myself, which sounds like maybe trite, but it's like I didn't know who she was. I didn't know even what I liked because all I did was go drinking. And like if we're really honest with ourselves, like drinking is so boring. Like that's one of the things too that like in my later sobriety and like why I started Shake, I was like, oh my God, every bar is the same. You walk in, it's too loud. There's all these people, then there's a wooden something between you and the bottles, and you got to like deal with this person, and you have to yell at them and give them your money, and it's always the same. I don't care what the decorations are like or how much a glass of wine is at a different place. Like it's all the same. It's so boring. And so like I have a rule now, like even 11 years in, I will not go to a bar unless there's something else there. Food, games, dogs, a water feature, whatever. There has to be something else or I won't go because it's just like absolutely uninteresting to me and life is too short. Like
Oh my God. I love this. Yeah. Something that I say all the time to my clients is drinking is not the activity. Like, we're not here for that. Like, oh, do you want to come to the beach? Okay, well, what are we going to do at the beach? Well, I mean, we're going to have some wine. No,
no,
I,
no, no, absolutely not. Exactly.
absolutely
So
not. So,
I don't want that. Yeah. So there has to be something else because I didn't even know what I liked. I
yeah.
didn't know. And I mean, yoga was helpful again to like be like, I love this. I love philosophy. I was a photography major and I still do creative work, obviously. And I like hadn't made art in years because I was just like hungover or like drinking or like whatever. And so I was like, what do I actually like? What do I want to rediscover about the world? And who do I want to be around? Right. Because I love the line. I forget who says it. It's probably many people. You are the sum of the 5 people you surround yourself with the most. So if
Totally.
you are out with people who are just drinking and escaping from their reality and like don't really care about anything, you're going to be like that. That's just, there's no way around it. So really finding people that you're like inspired by and you want to be like, I think is a really important part too to coming back to yourself because you're going to end up being a little bit like them. And so who do you want to be like,
Yeah.
and in this new world where you actually can see clearly and hear things.
Yeah, you have to surround yourself with the people that like have
Yeah.
the qualities that you want to have. And it's yeah, It is a lot of the women who I talk with. One of the things that they struggle with, and this is what you're describing and exactly what I went through, is like we don't know anything about ourselves because we've been using alcohol to hide for so long. And so the idea of having to not have that as a security blanket is like terrifying because it's like, I don't know who I am and I don't even know what it looks like to be a person who's in a room with other people and not drinking. And so it keeps us really stuck because at least like then we're safe from ambiguity, like good or bad. We know the outcome if we continue to drink. And that can be really hard for people.
Definitely. I mean, it kept me drinking for a long time. I remember especially like maybe right before or even right after I stopped drinking, I was like, how am I going to go to this wedding? Also, I got sober in November, like right before the holidays, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we call it the Holy Trinity, right? Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. Like if you can get through those 3 holidays without a drink, you can do anything. And so in one, I was like, let's go, because Thanksgiving was literally like 5 days later. And I was like, so I like, called my parents and they were like, all right, well, we'll get you some Martinelli's because it's sparkling cider. It's just juice. But like, they were like, okay, because again, they were ready to like pile on the wine, whatever. And I think they were very sweet that first year. If I remember correctly, none of them drank. They like took a break because they were like, okay, like we see you. Like, so we all had Martinelli's for Thanksgiving. And yeah, again, like none of my family has a drinking problem, but alcohol was so present in our experience, right? Especially for holidays. So yeah, I think like I was really worried, especially that first year, about like, oh my God, it's going to be everywhere. It's going to be all around me. Like, how am I going to do this? And so that fear is super real. But I think for me, what it was is like having something else to drink, right? Always having something. And I'm a big coffee drinker. So that was like, I'm not giving up coffee. Definitely not. Like, don't try to quit 2 things at once. Don't try to quit caffeine and alcohol. Do that later if you're going to do it. So yeah, I was like, as long as I have like my coffee or like my seltzer water, right? And like, hold something in my hand, then I won't have the other thing. But it did. I agree. Like I didn't really know what my holidays were going to be like. So I think I was like pretty quiet that holiday, like I was kind of leaned back and like wanted to kind of just let other people kind of run things. Whereas before I'd be like the life of the party, So
I do know I can relate to that. And there's an element of just kind of acting like an observer, like showing up and observing. And that's the best part, I think, of this, because that's how I realized I was the ringleader in a lot of the drinking situations. The one more round girl. And so it's like, oh, other people actually don't drink as much as I thought. Like,
not.
That was another big realization for me, like going out and people actually only having one drink after work and then leaving. And I wonder what they were doing at home. Were they like, I don't know, go like logging back into work? Were they having dinner with their families? And like the one beer that they had at happy hours, like are there people who don't have a second drink?
I'd never had one drink in my entire life.
I don't think I did.
I've never done it, and I never will, right? Like it's like I don't. My boyfriend's like that. He can have one, and I'm like, you are a unicorn. I don't understand you. You know what I mean? Like how? But yeah, you're right. I really did start to notice how little, not just how little people were drinking, but how much of my energy and time was thinking about it.
Yeah, totally.
So much of it.
Totally consumed.
Wanting people's drinks, like, oh, can I have another one? Will they notice? Like, do they think I'm drunk? Like all of that, just the mental like gymnastics of it was absolutely exhausting. So
do they think I'm drunk? Don't even start. Or the like paying attention to how much other people are drinking and like literally sitting there staring at your own wine glass being like, Lindsay, just wait until that person has like finished theirs before you take another sip of your, like, seriously, what?
1,000%. Thousands of times.
Like, why?
I really had two. I really want my third one, but no one else is on their second one, so I have to wait.
Yeah,
you guys have to wait. This is terrible.
Right, and like just sitting there, like, okay, I'm gonna wait. Like, I'm gonna 90 seconds. Like, I'm not gonna take a sip of my wine for like 90. Like, what? Who's doing that?
When you stop drinking, like, girl, you can have as much seltzer water as you want. Keep going, hydrate. Let's go. Like that's.
I know.
Love that
And
shit. I was like, cool.
yeah. And then there's like the flip side of it. Like I used to say things like, I don't drink my calories unless it's wine. And so now it's like Trader Joe's has some of the most delicious little mocktail or just their beverages. I call them mocktails, and they have this lemon elderflower one and it's in a small can. Do you know what I'm talking about?
So good.
It's
Yes.
so good. It's like 60 calories for the small can. And I get like, I'm kind of like, I still like, I don't know, 60 calories. And then it's like, Lindsay, girl, 1,000 calories of wine a day. Like, get over yourself.
Oh my God, so real. Yeah,
So, yeah, have it. Have the 60 calorie Trader Joe's deliciousness. Like, so, okay, I want to switch gears a little bit because it's everyone's afraid to quit drinking. We're afraid of ambiguity. They're afraid that women are really afraid that like their life is going to get smaller. And I want to know, like, did you have that fear? And then how did your experience compare to what you expected? And I know you mentioned that you lost a friend who you thought was a close friend.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if that plays into this.
Totally. So yes, I would say that I had a lot of like thoughts like before I stopped, like, oh my God, no one doesn't drink. Like, I don't know anyone who doesn't drink. Like, who am I going to hang out with? Like, are people even going to want to hang out with me? Right. What am I going to do after work? Like, right. Like, so I was afraid. And also I was single. And so I was like, what is dating going to be like? Like, all we do on first dates in New York City is go for a drink.
Sure.
Period. I mean, probably at most places, but like
I think that's everywhere. Yeah,
I do. And I was like, am I even going to be able to date? And they tell you try not to date for a little while when you get sober. And I do recommend that because you deserve to focus on you instead of giving your energy out to somebody else, period. But like, that's another story. So, but I was a little bit afraid because I was like, I'm 28. I'm obviously like trying to be out there in the world. I want to be in community and I want to, connect with people. But like, what does that look like? And again, I had never been to AA at this point. So I was like, really thought that it was all like really old, grungy dudes in like trench coats. And they were like shitty basements with metal folding chairs and like bad coffee. And like some of that is true. But as it turns out, when I walk into my first meeting, which was like in Midtown East, like really close to Empire State Building, first of all, there were like 60 people in this room. And I was like, holy shit, there's like so many people in here, which is another like kind of positive of getting sober in New York City is like, there's a ton of people.
Right.
There's a lot of people at the bar, but I'll tell you, there's as many people in the AA meeting. So, and the variety of people there, like I was not the youngest one there, right? Like there were people in their early 20s. There were people in their late 70s. And it was that for me actually like really started to open up the world of like they're just like me. I'm just like, like there are people just like me, working professionals in their early 30s who are struggling with whatever. And like all of our stories were not the same, like how we got there, but we were all there, And so that at least like started to alleviate that fear. But even early sobriety, like when I was, attending some meetings, I was like, is this really me? Like, oh, like this doesn't feel like my people, right? Like, but they are.
Yeah.
And I too, like I had the one experience with that one friend, but again, that kind of stretched a little bit more loosely. That's like kind of the best example I have of a time where it like was very clear, like we were just drinking buddies. Other friends too, like most of my friends were drinking buddies, right? And most of my friends were from college, and like college, I went to NYU, and so we were down in the East Village, and like you walk outside your dorm, bar, bagel shop, liquor store, bar, it was just like it's everywhere, right? And so that was our college experience. We didn't have the frat parties and like the experiences of other bigger schools, but we were out there in the city, right? Like at 18 and beyond, right? So most of my friends were party friends, right? And again, but our weekends were always kind of the same. So it was like pregame at your apartment with your shitty little apartment, and I was smoking a lot of weed back then too. So it'd be like weed and drinks, and like we had a rule at this one apartment I lived at in Little Italy. It was a 6th-floor walk up, no buzzer. So you had to walk up 82 stairs and down to go get someone, or like if you needed a bottle of wine or a roll of toilet paper, like you're walking, and it's a commitment. So the rule was if you leave this apartment, you come back with 1.5 liters of wine and 2 rolls of toilet paper and a blunt wrap. Those were the rules. So like if you came back without it, we'd send you back out because it'd be like, you just came up all this way and you didn't bring any wine. So it was like, we were all like eating each other's, problems and addictions at the time. But we'd start there and then we'd go out to like all these bars. But as I mentioned, bars are boring. They're super boring. We weren't even going to see music. We were just going out drinking. Like, yeah, sometimes we would dance, but that wasn't ever the intention. It would just like be it it was something that would happen. So then I actually stopped drinking, and it took a little bit of time, right? I really gave myself like that first year to kind of just like figure my life out. I spent a lot of time in diners because diners don't have booze.
Yep. Yep. Oh, I miss New York sometimes.
I know. And I have to say, again, for that reason, I was super grateful. I went to a lot of museums. Did a lot of yoga because these are places that, like, again, could like feed me in different ways. But like, this is not a booze place, or this is not a place where like it's pervasive. And so that was really helpful. And then I did, and I briefly mentioned at the very beginning, but I do want to shout out these two events, which like really started to show me that my life had actually been quite small and that there was so much more for me on the other side of sobriety. And the first one is a party that has gotten nationally and world renowned at this point called Daybreaker. And Daybreaker is a sober morning dance party that these two twins, Radha and Mickey Agarwal, started. And they were really in their like infancy when I got sober. So I was actually on their like volunteer crew. We were called the Mischief Makers, and we would show up to the party at 4 a.m. to help them set up for the 6 a.m. yoga class, 7 a.m. dance party that everyone was done by 9. And then we went to work. They were like weekdays. It was like a real thing. And it was a really cool concept, which they've expanded on and done insane, growth to. But they would basically take over these clubs that obviously wouldn't open until like 10 p.m. the next day. And we would be there in the morning, like cleaning up the club from the night before. We could take over and bring our DJs, our yoga teachers, our matcha shots and bananas to the club. And people would literally come, Lindsay, and do a yoga class at 6 a.m. And then we'd clear the mats away. And then these like really high vibe DJs would play music for 2 hours. And people, it was like a little bit Burning Man inspired in the like costumes and fanfare of it all. But it was very much like of its time. And it was a thing. It was a thing, and it was like really important for me to see this community at this time. So I basically was like, I love this. I went to one party and I was like, where do I sign up? Like, how do I get more involved in this? And so then I did. And it was just so powerful for me how good I felt after that event. And it really, and what I want to talk about here is community, right? So getting sober by yourself, very important. You need to do some of that work alone, and you got to do it's hard, right? You're like home alone on your couch or like in your bed at night and you're like, oh my God, what does it all mean? But some of the most important sobriety work I did was with other people, not because they were like giving it to me, but just because I was with them. And I was like, I get to be a person out in the world, even without alcohol. Wow. Like, look at me having fun. Like, look at me on this dance floor. Like, look at all these people who are really dancing and really present. And they gave me permission to do the same thing, right? It's the same in a yoga class. If a teacher's like, do these poses, but also like, if you want to do your own thing, do it. Then they start doing their own thing. And then I have permission to do my own thing. And it's like, wait a second, I'm allowed to do that? I never thought of that before. So between Daybreaker was the morning party, and then this really amazing DJ creator called Tasha Blank. She still runs this party. It's changed names a couple of times throughout the years. When I went, it was called the Get Down, and it was a happy hour party. So I think it started at 6 and went till 10. So like you were home by 10.
Yeah.
Which for New York is early, right?
Yeah.
And they would go before the other parties. And it was mostly at the House of Yes, which is this very cool venue in Bushwick. And like I mentioned, they had a bar, but you couldn't bring any drinks on the dance floor. And so it had this really beautiful energy of the dance floor is sacred space. It's like, we don't drink, we don't take photos, we don't touch each other without consent. And you have full permission to like be your free, authentic self. And I was like, wait, really? Like, because I mean, I was used to people spilling beers on me, people groping you, and like feeling very conscious in my body. And so then I was like, God, like people are really dancing. People are not spilling their drinks on each other. People are like really taking care of each other in this space. And I was like, okay. So basically between those two events, I was reawakened. I came back to life in a lot of ways, because I was like, this is actually a thing that I can have. Like, I can dance again. I was really worried when I stopped drinking, I would like never dance again, right? That I would like never go out to a club or a party like that, because there'd be booze there and I'd be like tempted and I wouldn't want, and also like everyone around me would be under the influence, which is like stressful if you're sober.
And boring.
And boring. Thank you.
And boring.
So
yeah.
I found these communities of people that were like me, and maybe not completely. Maybe they still drank, but they were just like, I don't need to drink on the dance floor. I'm here to dance. And I was like, wow. Like my mind was fully blown.
Interesting concept.
I know. I was like, this is a thing. And it's a thing. And I mean, that paired with like, again, going to yoga. And I also too got my yoga teacher training, but I did it right after I got sober. So it was like a couple of years in. I think I was 3 years sober or 2.5 years sober when I did the training. And it was sort of this like reaffirmation of like, this is the path you're supposed to be on. But the owner of the yoga studio that I did my training with was like 20 years sober. And so she was this like sober mama energy. And she was like so excited to hear that I also was. And so it was just kind of like all the paths just seemed to kind of be leading me here and to like being more present and free. And like, again, then I was coming home to myself and I was feeling more and more like the Jakee that I truly knew I was, even if I hadn't like seen her in like a really long time. Because I started drinking really early. So I think I like, you know, kind of stifled and arrested that development of myself for a long time. And then kind of came out of it. And I think 3 or 4 years into sobriety, I was like, like, this is who I am. Cool.
Well, I mean, what I'm really hearing here is how the drinking version of Jakee was rinse and repeat. And that is a small life. Every day is the same. Every weekend is the same. The people are the same. The conversations are the same. There's zero enrichment. And then, you know, that transition from like college life to work life, then it's like the grind. The grind is the same. And I lived in that too. I lived in that like tech company startup, a bunch of 30 somethings, like, and it just didn't work. And now you've painted this picture of like the things that you did to enrich your life and surround yourself with that is so full. Like that's a very big life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not a small
It
life.
felt massive. And I'd say too, like, it's only gotten more since then. Right. So then I left New York City and I moved to Vermont and I was like, oh my gosh, I can snowboard all the time. I can go explore the woods. I can, you know, do all these things in nature. I like, you know, go solo paddle camping. Did I ever think at like 25 in New York City that I would do that, especially without booze?
Right.
Absolutely not, you know? So just like the expansion and the travel, like I've done so much solo travel in sobriety that I would have been terrified to do if I was drinking because I wouldn't have trusted myself to be out there alone in the world. But sober, I'll go to Berlin. I'll stay out till 2 a.m. Like, let's go. I'm sober. I can handle anything. Like I can get home. I can, you know, like, so I was out clubbing in Berlin, you know, I'll by myself basically because I felt, you know, confident and strong and clear enough to be able to do that. But like, yeah, life has only gotten bigger. And I think it like alcohol just robs you of these like opportunities to grow. And like, if we're not growing, like we're dying. Like, it's like one or the other, right? It's like, if we're not evolving, we're just stuck and staying still and everything in nature evolves and changes over time. And we are supposed to also. So,
yes, I mean, to me, that's the biggest takeaway. Just because it's how we've always done it doesn't mean how we need to continue to do it. I want to be really conscious of our time. And I have a really important question for you because you've just done so much in the sober space from different, like, you know, you did AA in the beginning, but we've talked a lot of that offline. Like there's so much of that that doesn't resonate with people. And you like Holly Whitaker's book, that was a big turning point in my own journey. Love that book. And just these brave people who are speaking out that like there's other ways to do this and you don't have to have a huge, like, you don't have to have that stereotypical what you picture a person with alcohol like problems to have to want to quit drinking. So I'm really wondering, what do you think is the next phase of like that the alcohol-free culture needs to be?
Love that. Yeah, I mean, my friends and I who are all sober, we were just talking about this the other night. Like, wow, like there's so many NA options. There's so many things that are available that weren't before. But I think probably the next level is creating spaces that are purely alcohol free, more of them, just more of them, right? Because there are some, but there's not enough. And I would love there to be as many alcohol-free spaces as there are bars. That's a lofty goal. But I mean, let's go, you know? And I would like when people offer you a drink that it's not immediately like that it has to be a booze drink.
Yes. That is, oh my gosh. I always say, I'm like, I dream of a world where when somebody says, let's get drinks, that literally means any fluid.
Or they mean a non-alcoholic drink, right? Because like, wow, like what a shift. And it's like, listen, if we get there and you want to have a beer, okay, right? But like I think that's like just creating like language around that, right? And like, you know, getting people used to that. And it's already started happening, right? But it's we could go further there. And then I also think like I struggled a lot actually early sobriety with the term alcoholic, right? Because I was like, this feels like an identity that I don't really want to take on, because I am a whole person and I do have a drinking problem. That is for sure. I'm abusing alcohol, but I don't really like calling myself an alcoholic. And I think everyone can do what they need to do. If it works for you, it works for you. But for me, it didn't work because then I was like putting this on myself. And I was just like, I don't really need to carry this around, especially this many years in, right? Yeah. Early, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm an alcoholic and I have a problem. Cool. But I do have a problem with drinking, but I want it to be like where it's less about that and it's more about what I choose to do instead. So like, who am I otherwise, right? And so giving people like spaces and opportunities where like they feel safe totally to be like, I don't drink. What do you got? You know, like, and I like challenge a lot of bartenders. I'm like, okay, I need a mocktail, you know, and I'll like tell them like, hey, but it's, I think we've come really far. I'd love to see less stigma around the word sober, right? Like there's still sort of a little bit of stigma around it. And that's why I don't like the term alcoholic, but I do use sober because I think, but also like I've joked about this, like you've met me. We're on this call. Is there anything sober about me, right? Like I don't drink alcohol, but like sober has this like somber, like if at church energy, like there's so, you know, the word itself I feel like is not really fair somehow, right?
I agree.
I'm a non-drinker, right? Or like maybe I don't even need to say anything about it. It's just like I don't drink alcohol anymore because I used to drink too much of it, but like that's too long, you know? So it's like I would love for there to be like a better term for us non-drinkers or us who have found the way out or something like that. So it's a language thing for me, but I think it matters because we put so much on words, you know, and I think that can help people. So I like free, right? That's the word that I'm just free, alcohol free. So the freedom is the part that is the most important part to me. It's like, I'm free now to do whatever and be whoever. And the alcohol just has to be a thing. So
I agree with you. And it's so tricky, like, because sometimes I don't like to say I'm sober, but I do because it's just like the most wildly accepted word. Because and then sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, well, I'm alcohol free. And then people will be like, oh, so do you like smoke weed or do gummies? And I'm like, well, no, I actually don't do that either. Because I just know personally for me that would be a slippery slope right back to alcohol probably. And for me, like, it's more about evaluating like what would I use that for? And if the answer is to like check out or escape, then that's not going to work for me because I don't do that anymore. So like, there's just so much. So I get it. It's like, yes, I'm sober. Yes, I'm alcohol free, but I also don't do drugs. And I like to so,
what do we call this? Right. So yeah.
I'm just living. Like
I'm alive. I'm presently alive.
Yeah, I'm over here.
The next phase is like we have a better term and like something for this movement that we are a part of, right? That's moving us away from just like escapism, right? And like, you know, tuning out. I like tuning in instead of tuning out, right? So it's like be in, not out.
I know. It's wild. Oh my gosh. Okay. So we only got to about a third of the things that I really wanted to talk to you about today. So, but I want to give a little bit more to Shake. When is Shake's next event?
Yeah, thank you. Shake's next event is July 10th at Savu Sauna here in Burlington. And we've got tickets available and I would love to see you there. We're going to have DJs and non-alcoholic drinks and the sauna rounds. You can jump in the lake. Hopefully we'll have a beautiful sunset. So yeah, looking forward to that. And then our next one will be August 7th. So
August 7th.
Yeah, July 10th and August 7th. And you can find us Shake Social Club on Instagram or the web and check us out. See if you're in the area. Come hang out.
I love it. And I mean, Burlington's a great destination. Come to Burlington, go to Shake.
Exactly.
And we have a beautiful lake here and it's amazing. So thank you so much, Jakee. Where can people find Shake on Instagram? What is it?
So it's at Shake Social Club. And there's a little smiley face. That's how you'll know. It's the yellow smiley because we're happy now.
We'll link it in the show notes. Thank you so much. This was fun.
Thank you for having me, Lindsay. This was an amazing chat. Really appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Feel Good Alcohol Free podcast. If this episode landed for you, it would mean a lot if you left a review or take a quick screenshot of it and share it on social media. That's how this show reaches more women who are ready to stop living in the drinking loop and start leading themselves with confidence again. I'm on a mission to change the way high-achieving women think about alcohol because you don't need more willpower or more rules around your drinking. You need real support, real tools, and the truth about what's actually possible for you. So keep showing up for yourself, keep telling the truth about what you want. And remember, the life you want isn't found in a glass or a bottle of wine. It's built in the decisions that you can stand behind, the ones that you feel really good about. My DMs are always open, and I can't wait to get to know you better. I will see you next week in the next episode.